Good evening and a very, very warm welcome to you all. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Stacey Kendall and I am the Key Stage 4 Pastoral Lead at Wheatley Park School. I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome you all to our introduction to GCSE evening and honestly cannot believe we are here already. It feels like just yesterday, I'm sure you'll all agree, that we were speaking to you all at our introduction to Year 7 evening, which was of course in person in our school hall. In fact, that was my first official evening presenting at Wheatley Park, as I too had joined that year. And therefore, I feel particularly proud to have seen all of the young people in this fantastic year group grow, and I cannot wait to see the fantastic things you will all go on to achieve. Whilst a great deal has happened since that evening, and a great deal has changed, including how tall some of us have grown, what hasn't changed is who we are as a school community, our shared values, and our commitment to ensuring all of our students will be looked after, cared for, and given the opportunities to make the very best progress they can. Whilst tonight is very much centred around our everyone learning value, and more on this will follow as the evening progresses, as you will get to hear from Mr. Rattigan, our Deputy Head Teacher, responsible for curriculum, alongside Mrs. Pearson, Mrs. Newmar and Mrs. Clifton-Rabone, who will be talking about our core subjects and how to achieve. However, we fundamentally believe that learning will be far more successful when our young people are cared for. And I'm now thrilled to introduce our new Head of Year 10, Mrs. Llewellyn, who will talk to you all in more detail about the pastoral provision our GCSE students receive each and every day. Thank you all so much for coming once again, and I really hope you enjoy the evening ahead and indeed the next journey as Wheatley Parkers.
Good evening. It's lovely to see you all this evening for the start of Year 10's GCSE journey. It's a real shame we can't be together in the main hall, but hopefully just putting a face to a name is quite reassuring. And hopefully for any students that are watching, who I am isn't really a surprise. I am really excited to be working with the class of 2023 over the next 2 years. It's a really important chapter in their education journey, but it's also a time when their aspirations and their goals for their futures start to be formed and they start to learn more about who they are as a young adult. I'm Mrs. Llewellyn, or Lisa Llewellyn, as their head of, and I'll be their head of year for the next 2 years. And I'm working really closely with Mrs. Walsh and Mrs. Hunt, and also their form tutors. And throughout the next 2 years, we are here to reassure them and champion them and encourage them, and hopefully not have to be a shoulder to cry on for too many times. I'm really confident in the pastoral support that we offer in Year 10. We can do check-ins and set up behaviour plans or pastoral plans, and our aim is always to maintain the really high expectations that we have of our students at Wheatley Park at all times. We also work with Space to Be, which is our social, emotional and mental health hub, and that's we can refer students there if we think it's appropriate. And we also work with our SENCO department. But most importantly, our goal is to ensure that no matter what barriers students are facing, they are in the best possible position to succeed and achieve their potential. And in our last tutor times this last week, the forum groups looked at what it means to be successful and how being part of a team can be really important to that. It's not just somebody on their own. And in our assembly this week, we're going to look at the Team GB mixed triathlon team and think about what we can learn from them on how we can be successful in school. And our 2023 team includes myself as head of year, obviously Miss Walsh, Miss Hunt, the tutors, the students, their teachers, but also yourself as parents and carers. And one of the roles that the teachers will play is monitoring student progress over the 2 years and also helping to maintain that progress and helping students achieve their potential. And they'll do this through well-planned lessons, whole class feedback, and individual conversations as well at parents' evening, which we'll talk about in a minute. But as well as that, the other part of my role, as well as being the shoulder, is to raise achievement and progress. And we have RAP meetings quite frequently, where I meet with heads of department like Miss Pearson and Miss Numa and Miss Clifton, and we look at what we can do to support and put specific interventions in place for students. So it might be that that intervention is subject-based, it might be that it's pastoral-based, but it's a chance for us to sit down and properly talk about that and go through it quite systematically. And sort of related to progress is homework. So there's a massive jump, I think year 10 might already be feeling it. There is a massive jump in homework demands over the next 2 years. So per subject, every student will get an hour per week. And it's really important. We've been encouraging students in their first week back to plan their time at home and to make sure that they're keeping up with the demands, they're completing things to a really good standard, but then also having that downtime and keeping up their extracurricular activities, which are just as important, but also hopefully showing them that it doesn't have to just be about schoolwork when they get home. And it would be amazing if, as part of our 2023 team, you could support your child at home with their homework. And it may just be that you just check in with them. You're going to know them better than I do. So if you're confident that you can just say to your child, have you done your homework? And they say yes, and they've done it. That's fantastic. But if you want to be more involved, just talking to them and quizzing them and asking them questions about what they've been learning is really beneficial. And it just helps cement some of that stuff in their head. And we've encouraging them to think of their brains as a sponge that absorb information, and when it's needed, that's when it's squeezed and it's like you ask questions of it, that's when that knowledge will come out. And the more they do that, the easier it will be. And my aim over the next 2 years is for you to feel as part of our 2023 team, as much as I do, and also the students. And it's not going to be easy, year 10, there is a lot of hard work ahead, but I'm really confident that together we can ensure that each student is achieving their potential, and I really hope you feel the same. There is plenty of opportunities to be updated and to be kept in the loop with how your child is progressing. So there's a parents' evening coming up in November, which would be great if you're able to attend, and more information will be sent home. But there's also then 3 reports that are sent home that give you a picture of how your child is progressing at 3 points in the year. And perhaps the best picture comes in July after they've done their mocks, and we can see for the first time how hard they've worked, and they can get that sense of how they might achieve in year 11. And then going into year 11, obviously things step up a bit. There's parents' evenings a bit earlier. There's another one that comes later on. And there's also other opportunities to think about like practicing those exam skills and getting into those really good revision practices and habits as they build up to their summer exam season in May. However, it isn't just about GCSEs. We also do start to think about the world beyond school and beyond GCSE exams. So we'll start this a little bit this year. We do a year 10 careers topic in personal development, but also in year 11, we start to look at work experience and sixth form interviews and college, and trying to find the right path for each individual student and what's right for them. And there are things they can be doing over the next year to prepare for that. And importantly, things like senior form rep, becoming a senior form rep or a senior student later on in the year are really helpful, because it just develops those skills of teamwork and working with groups of people and attending meetings and time management. And they're probably skills I hope you'd all agree that are acquired in all aspects of adult life. and we want to nurture those in our students as early as possible. So more information will come about all of those as the year goes on, but if you can encourage your child to take part, again, it would be greatly appreciated, and helping them see the bigger picture of taking part in that sort of thing. So I hope you've understood a little bit more about what my role as head of year is over the next 2 years. And I really hope you feel confident enough to contact myself or Miss Kendall if you have any concerns. And along with the rest of the Year 10 leadership team, I have so much faith that the class of 2023 will continue to act as role models for the younger years, and they'll continue to progress and begin to grow into what is already a group of caring and responsible young people. Thank you for listening, and hopefully I will get to see you soon. Thank you.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be able to speak to you tonight about our Key Stage 4 courses and how we can all work together to support your children in achieving the best possible outcomes in the summer of 2023. Here are a few key questions that I plan to cover before handing over to our English, Maths and Science teams. But of course, please do send in any further questions you may have after the event. Firstly, how can my child ensure they are successful over the next 2 years? We focused on 4 areas for every student to do their very best in order to give them the best chance of being successful. Firstly, and most importantly, be here. Attendance really does count and make a difference. This graph shows with the class of 2019, our last cohort to do a full normal set of GCSEs, the impact on progress of high attendance. The higher the attendance, the more likely to have high levels of progress. Second, stay positive, work hard. This graph relates to the average attitude to learning scores, and your children would have received attitude to learning scores on their progress reports over the last few years, and this shows a strong correlation between the average attitude to learning, how hard students are working in lessons and at home, as evaluated by their teachers, and the progress that they make over the course of their time with us. Thirdly, do your homework. Miss Llewellyn has already spoken about homework, and revise and prepare for exams. And both of those are particularly focused on trying to deal with something we all suffer from, the forgetting curve, and how over time our retention of key facts and ideas can decline. And so homework and revision will help interrupt the forgetting process, combating that curve, and giving us a better chance of retaining that key information by the time we come to the summer of 2023 and examinations. So our curriculums and schemes of work are planned to help students regularly revisit key information in lessons, in homework, and particularly running up to Year 10 exams or mock exams or the summer final exams, our revision strategies. And there'll be a lot more advice leading up to those to help students revise effectively. But those are our 4 strands: attendance, working hard, completing good quality homework, and at the right time, revising and preparing for assessments. We know this works. And I mentioned the class of 2019. 2 years ago, our last cohort to go through a full uninterrupted set of GCSEs achieved an excellent overall progress, well above the national average of 0.32, which means that on average, students achieved a third of a grade higher in each qualification than the national average. And this can be seen, the trend on the impact of the overall attainment of students in the 2019 cohort being our best ever. So we know that this approach works. We know there's a lot of hard work for students. There's a lot of work for us in supporting and guiding students on that journey. But we do know that the impact can be seen in the outcomes at the end of their courses. So You may have questions about how GCSEs have changed, and it is now a few years since the most significant changes, but for many parents who would have been used to A's, B's and C's, if nothing else, changes to numbers like 9, 8s and 7s and so on may be new. So I'll just go through some of those changes. GCSEs have changed considerably a few years ago, and they are new examinations with some harder content, some more challenging content in them. That was part of the aim of the government in the changes they made. There are more examinations and less coursework involved. So subjects such as history and English which would have had coursework in the past, no longer have coursework. There are more terminal exams, and by that I mean exams at the end of the course rather than modular exams during the course. So almost all courses, students will sit their exams in the summer of 2023. I'll talk about a few exceptions in a little bit. And there is a new grading system has gone A's, B's, C's, A stars, and in our numbers I'll talk about those on the next slide, and also go on to a small number of qualifications that we do, which are not actually GCSEs, but are alternative equivalent qualifications. So firstly, the new grading structure is from a grade 9 down to a grade 1 or a U for unclassified. There are more numbers than there were letters, so the correspondence isn't exactly equal, but you can consider that a grade 7 is equivalent to an old grade A standard, and a grade 4 is equivalent to an old grade C, and a grade 1 would have been equivalent to an old grade G standard. So students will, on the whole, their results will be predominantly these new number systems, but you can refer back to this to see how they compare when looking at their progress reports, their mock exam grades, and so on. We can share with you, and we'll send this information out after the evening, a list of all of our qualifications, the exam boards, the specifications, if you want to look at those in more detail, and the breakdown of the qualification. I said that the majority of qualifications are exam-based, and you can see how many exams, how much each exam is worth, but also on the right-hand side here, where there is a non-exam assessment, which would be a form of coursework or controlled assessment, and which subjects have those and how much they're worth. So we'll send that information out after this evening. And as I mentioned, we offer a small number, 3, in fact, technical qualifications. These are equivalent to GCSEs and actually Cambridge National qualifications in information technologies, health and social care, and sports science. They have a different grade structure. So instead of the 1 to 9 grades, you can achieve anything from a level 1 pass, which is given the same equivalence of a grade 1 or grade 1 and a 0.25 at GCSE, up to a level 2 distinction star, which is equivalent to grade 8.5 on the new GCSE scale. So you can still get a very high level of attainment in those subjects, and they cater for the full range of learners, just like a GCSE. These qualifications tend to be focused on particular industries, so the IT industry, health and social care, and sports science. They all involve a greater proportion of coursework or controlled assessments during the course, and a lower weighting on exams at the end. Teachers in subjects will have explained the qualification structure to students, and it may be that in some of these subjects the exams will be able to be sat before the end of year 11, but we'll speak to the students and parents in those classes at the appropriate time. What impact has COVID-19 had? Obviously, education has been disrupted in both of the last academic years, and that has affected the exams that the last two cohorts have taken. We don't know what impact it will have going forward, and we'll continue to be preparing students for exams as best we can. However, although everybody's learning has been disrupted, we've had some significant advantages for our students in preparing for their GCSE courses. The first of these is that as we've chosen options in Year 8 and had the Year 9 focus courses on those subjects that you've chosen, then that's introduced some flexibility. We've already been able to support students in preparing for those focused courses that they've chosen. We were also in a position where in both lockdowns, obviously every student had access to a Chromebook, so learning was able to continue as far as possible. And the result with the Year 11s that have just left, the class of 2021, is that the vast majority of the curriculum was covered with all students. And whilst the qualifications that students come out with are important, the learning that they needed to take place to help prepare them for future courses, whether those are A-levels or apprenticeships, the absolute vast majority of that was still able to take place, whether in school over the 2 years or remotely. Students worked hard during both lockdowns. We have tweaked our curriculum plans in all subjects to take into account where students may have missed learning, make sure we don't leave holes that are unfilled, and teachers will be using regular formative assessment in lessons to identify gaps and make sure that we continue to fill those, and we don't assume that something that maybe in a previous year would have been secure may not be this time if it's been taught mainly during a period of lockdown. But we do feel, our assessment of students is that although there has been some impact on learning, that students are still in a good place to do very well in their GCSE courses this year. And obviously, if things change, we'll adapt as quickly as we can to ensure that they can prepare well for whatever assessment takes place at the end of 2023. How can you, as a parent, support your child to do well? The two key things are, going back to our previous slide, attendance, attitude to learning, trying to support them in being able to come to school every day where possible, and supporting a really positive attitude to learning, both for classwork and homework. Ways you can do that is to look after them, as I'm sure you do, and help them to look after themselves, which can sometimes be more tricky. So plenty of rest, a good 8 hours sleep every night, regular routines around that, nutrition, eating healthily, and regular exercise, good for physical and mental well-being. Helping them with the conditions for learning at home, so ensuring they have a quiet space, good routines, and get into the habit of regular daily independent study at home. Over the course of the 2 years, and as we get into Year 11, getting those routines in place will be really important. And take an interest in their learning. Ask them questions, test them. That helps to interrupt that forgetting process every question where they have to think again, oh, what can I remember about those dates or that text? They all help. Even get them to teach you about the subjects they've been learning, things that you may not have revisited or learnt about since you were at school. And then what happens after GCSEs? That will obviously depend on the student. There are lots of different options. The majority of our students do progress on into our sixth form, where we offer A-levels and a small number of BTEC qualifications. You need to access those courses, you need to be achieving 5 grade 4s, including 4s in English and maths, And there is an expectation now that's where students don't achieve a 4 in English and maths at the end of year 11, they continue studying it in whatever setting they are, aiming for that key qualification, that grade 4 equivalent to a C in old money. There are alternative providers, other sixth forms, college, where you can study similar courses or some different courses, or go into apprenticeships and training opportunities. There will be a lot of information, sessions and so on about careers and destinations over the next 2 years, and there's a lot more information on our careers website, which you can see the address of below. As I said, if you have any further questions, obviously please do get in touch after the event. I'm going to hand over now to some of our leaders in English, Maths and Science to talk specifically about their subjects and how students can work hard to achieve the best possible outcomes in those over the next 2 years. Thank you very much for your time.
Hello, my name is Carrie Nurma and I'm second in charge of the English department here at Wheatley Park School with responsibility for year 9 and 10 English. So I'm going to talk about GCSE English, and the first thing to note is that we are preparing students for 2 GCSEs, English Language and English Literature, and both GCSEs, for both qualifications we use the AQA exam board. Both qualifications are 100% exam. Literature historically has been in May, so we're looking at May 2023 for 2 exams for literature and June 2023 for English language. And they also do a spoken language endorsement, so previously known as a speaking and listening assessment, which is a sort of an add-on to the English language GCSE. And we often get asked which grade counts for their English grade. So for college and for sixth form and for other things that students may want to do after GCSEs, they need a grade 4 in English, and it's whichever is the highest grade. That's the one that counts. So what do students study over the next 2 years in English? Well, we mainly cover English literature in year 10. So much of what you see now is what we'll start with this year. For English literature, we do Romeo and Juliet. They actually started studying that in year 9. We will look at the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We will also study An Inspector Calls and some power and conflict poetry. There's a poetry anthology that AQA, the exam board, provide, and we study that as well. We also prepare students for an unseen poetry question too. English language is slightly different, and the English language exams are based on unseen extracts. So we do lots of preparation, reading extracts, trying to understand them, practice answering questions on them around the use of language, the use of structure, comparing text sometimes for the 2 exams for English language. Are broken down into 2 papers, and they're equally weighted. So there's a fiction paper, so stories that are made up, and a non-fiction paper, stories about real life. So students will have on both papers a reading section where they'll look at an unseen extract, or on paper 2 there are 2 extracts, and they'll answer questions on those. And then they will do their own writing. So on the fiction paper, it might be a short story or a description. And on the non-fiction paper, they'll write to put forward their own argument, their own point of view on a topic. So what students need to do over the next couple of years to be successful? With a focus on literature to start with, it would be great if they could get their own copies of the text that we study. So An Inspector Calls, Jekyll and Hyde. They don't need the anthology. The AQA exam board provide that, but we'll share some information about their own copies. It's not compulsory. We do have enough copies in school for students to use, but it's really helpful having their own copy of the text so they can make their own notes in it. It's always there for them at home if they want to refer back to it and reread it. So it would really be helpful. It's really important they learn the key knowledge for the texts. So we use knowledge organisers in English, and our students already know how to use those. We'll keep working on that though with them, but they've got knowledge organisers with key quotations, key vocabulary, etc., to help them. And it's about kind of going over that key knowledge over and over to be really confident with that, so that they remember it for the exam, because the exams are, of course, closed book. And they need to know how to test themselves and other people. We will show them how to do that. We'll work on that with them. But another fantastic way of doing so is the Brainscape app. They've used that before. We introduced that to them in year 8 or year 9. Definitely last year they used it, and we'll continue using that with them. And of course, we'll show them how to use those things in class, but we would like them to continue doing so at home. As well as reading and discussing adult material, the English language qualification uses adult texts. It's not teen fiction. There'll be extracts from short stories that are adult fiction, and therefore it'd be really helpful if they continue reading, so that they're used to the kind of vocabulary, sentence structure, etc., that's used in adult fiction and adult non-fiction indeed as well. And so how parents can help, what can you do to support your young people, your children with that? Things like supporting their students to test using the flashcards app, the Brainscape app, so get them to show you how it works. You can do that with them. Watching and discussing film adaptations would be great. There's some really great versions of the text that we study, and involving them in adult conversation. So again, so they're used to that way of communicating in a clear and adult, really mature way. So if you have any further questions, our details will be shared later. So please do get in touch. And I'm going to pass over to Miss Pearson. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Miss Pearson and I am the Head of Maths at Wheatley Park School. In the GCSE Maths team, in particular, we have myself, Head of Maths, and also Miss Sperry, who is our Key Stage 4 team leader. She is an excellent point of contact for students who might have questions or queries about their studies, and another line of contact in case they need any help. The Maths GCSE is fully exam assessed, and at the end of Year 11, students will sit 3 90-minute papers. There is absolutely no coursework, and the grading system is 1 to 9. There are 2 different tiers that students sit, foundation or higher tier, and foundation teaches up to a grade 5, which is harder than a grade C on the old grading system. At Wheatley Park School, we sit the AQA exam board for mathematics. In maths, the questions are each assigned an assessment objective. AO1 questions are your standard questions where they tell students what to do. There'll be direct questions really similar to the knowledge and fluency questions that we will use in lessons. There's a high chance students will have seen an incredibly similar question before. The other questions are AO2 and AO3. These are reasoning and problem-solving questions. Within these questions, students will need to apply their knowledge to an unfamiliar context. It might be a slightly longer worded question. Students will be exposed to similar questions in their lessons, but won't necessarily have seen the exact question that appears. Just because there's lots of different ways they might include mathematics in different contexts. So let's have a look at some other questions and see what they might look like in your GCSE. So here is an AO1 question. It says, work out the fraction that's halfway between a half and 1 1/4. Students are given a representation with a number line to guide them with their thinking. This will be something really similar to what students will have done in class, and they should be really confident with it. Notice it's a 3-mark question. The number of marks are shown at the end of the question, so students will need to show some workings towards how they get their answer, so it might take a little bit of time to get there, but hopefully they'd be really confident in answering this particular question at the end of Year 11. If we take a look at an AO2 or 3 example, again, this is taken with a context of fractions. Instantly, we can see that there are far greater number of words to this question. It's got a lot of text. Students are really going to have to unpick this question before they can get started. So the first thing they'll need to do is decide what the question is asking them before they can then start a plan of how to approach this question. We will look at unpicking questions and building confidence with this skill throughout the GCSE course so that students are ready for these questions. So part A of the question is worth 6 marks. There's quite a lot in there. And then part B is a 1-mark question where students are asked about if something in the question changes, how it will affect their answer. And throughout our lessons in Year 10 and Year 11, we frequently ask students, if this changes, what happens? Will it stay the same? Will it get bigger? Will it get smaller? How will our answer be affected? So that when they see these types of questions in their GCSE, they're really ready for them. They've got a lot of confidence. They've seen this type of questioning before. So the GCSE is a challenge. You'll notice that 40% of the GCSE is A01 marks, so straightforward questions where students are told what to do. And then 60% of the GCSE is those problem-solving questions where they're going to have to really unpick the questions before they can begin, and there'll be slightly non-standard questions. So it's really exciting and really prepare them for what they go on to study post-GCSE, and it'll also prepare them for applying their maths to lots of different problems and areas. So hopefully they will enjoy that aspect of the course. So because there is so much problem solving, it is really crucial that students are fluent with key mathematical processes. The more fluent you are with those key skills, the easier you're going to find it to apply it to a problem-solving question. If you're great at fractions, you'll find it far easier to answer a fractions problem-solving question because that knowledge will be stored in your brain and you'll be really confident applying that to a new situation. So it is so important that there's lots of effortful practice throughout Year 10 and Year 11, both in class and at home. And that needs to start now. I know lots of you have been doing that throughout Key Stage 3 already. So it's important that at home you can act on the feedback that you're getting from your homework skills. So I've taken a screenshot of a Hegarty Maths homepage, and we can see down here that this student has done 853 different homework tasks on Hegarty. We can see that this proportion of them are green. There's a small section here that's orange and a slightly larger section, but still quite small, that's red. The blue skills are the ones that they've not attempted yet. So their teacher has not asked them to do those. So a good thing to do at home is to revisit those skills by clicking on sections of this donut. The green ones, you might just simply redo the quiz, see how you get on, check it's still green. If it's red or amber though, you should make sure you watch the video first because there's a really high chance that you need to revisit the method before you can approach those questions. So you might be a parent sitting in the audience and be thinking, I might find this particularly tricky to support my child with mathematics at home. Maybe when you were at school, mathematics wasn't one of your strengths, or it might have been a really long time since you've done any maths yourself in the context of a GCSE. So the good news is Hegarty Maths has videos for absolutely every skill. So you don't need to be an expert yourself. You just need to encourage them to look on their Hegarty Maths platform to get help. And if the Hegarty Maths platform isn't helping them, please do encourage them to email their subject teacher as well. So like I mentioned before, encourage them to use the donut to improve their weaker areas, so the red and orange sections. Watch the video first for those and then retry the quiz. Hegarty Maths has got a fantastic revision platform, which you might have heard of already. In the revise section on the top of their login, there'll be a little button called memory, and Hegarty Maths creates a personalised revision quiz for every child, and it learns as you do more on your Hegarty Maths account. So Hegarty Maths, once you've clicked through, will give you an option to start the quiz, and it will make it personalised. There'll be approximately 10 questions to the quiz. It will only give you questions that it knows you are really good at. So if you've done a Hegarty Maths quiz on area of a circle and you've got 100%, it will give you some area of circle questions. However, if you did a Hegarty Maths quiz on circumference of a circle and you only got 30%, it won't give you circumference of a circle question. And the idea behind this is it will interrupt that forgetting cycle. I'm sure we all remember what it's like to leave a classroom feeling really confident and a few weeks later come back to the same topic and think, oh, I can't quite remember how to do this one. Doing memory really regularly will really support you in not forgetting those skills and keeping them really topped up. So if you get stuck, for some of the questions, there'll be a video icon. So you can click on that, go back and watch the video. Not every question will have a video icon. If you get the similar type of question wrong more often, the memory function will start to introduce the video icon. So Hegarty will use its data on you to know if you might need the video or not. So student actions to make sure you're really successful in your GCSE maths is make sure you understand every single lesson so that you can walk out feeling like you've grasped that skill. Make sure you complete your homework to a really high standard. In year 10 and 11, we have 2 pieces of homework each week. One is set on a Monday, due in on the Wednesday, and the second piece will be set on the Wednesday, due in for the Monday. So we get lots and lots of practice of those fluency skills so that we can become really great problem solvers. It's also important that you have the right calculator. So please make sure that you have a calculator with natural display, and we recommend the Class Whiz as shown on the right-hand side of this slide. Some of you might own the older model that I've put at the bottom. It has now been discontinued, so you can't purchase the one at the bottom, but if you do own that calculator, it is absolutely fine for your GCSE. At school, we do sell the one on the right-hand side if you need to purchase it. So I'm now going to hand over to science.
Welcome to this talk now on science at GCSE. I'm Mrs. Clifton Raybone and I'm the Curriculum and Assessment Lead. So at GCSE, we use the AQA scheme of work, and we have 2 routes through science, the combined science trilogy and the separate sciences, so biology, chemistry and physics. And I'll touch on the differences between those in slightly more detail. So a real common question is, if students do combined science, does that mean that they're dropping biology, chemistry or physics? And the answer is no. They're doing combined science, they are still doing biology, chemistry and physics in a huge amount of breadth and depth. If they're doing separate sciences, they're doing a little bit of extra content in each of those subjects. Okay. Consequently, this means that if students do combined science, they finish their course with 2 GCSEs at grades 9 through to 1. If they do separate sciences in biology, chemistry and physics, they finish their course with 3 GCSEs at grades 9 through to 1. If students do combined science, they can still study A-levels and any future studies in science. In order to do biology, chemistry or physics at Wheatley, we need 6s in science, and those can be achieved in combined science or in separate sciences. We also have an applied science course that has slightly lower grade requirements. We have a huge amount of interesting content that gets covered in science. So in biology, we have these 7 topics that you can see here. In chemistry, these 10 topics that you can see. And in physics, these 7 topics. It's a really interesting course, and we've chosen it because it gives you a really great overview of science and lots of really interesting ideas and concepts to study. We are confident that even in these slightly odd times, we are fully prepared for GCSE for this cohort. We've adjusted our curriculum plans to make sure we've covered all of our content by winter 2021. We've developed our homework to make sure that we're promoting fluency. We've got lots of feedback planned in to identify and address any gaps in knowledge. We have got huge amounts of exam preparation and practice already built into our curriculum, and we've developed really robust and effective independent resources for students to use outside of lessons. These are all accessed through the Science Student site, which has been shared by their teachers. Students at GCSE need to look at the years 9 to 11 tab, which will lead them to our Quizlet and our bite-size links. At the end of the course, all students will sit 6 exams in science. 2 in biology, 2 in chemistry and 2 in physics. The difference is if they're on the combined science route, those exams will be 1 hour and 15 minutes in length. And if they're on the separate science route, those exams will be 1 hour and 45 minutes in length in order to examine that extra content that is in each of the topics. In order to make sure that we're really effectively preparing for exams, we suggest that at home, students make sure that they are always completing homework to develop their fluency, that they're using the Quizlet flashcards that we've created so that they get instant feedback. Those flashcards will help build in recall, making sure that we're doing regular, deliberate practice of fundamental concepts. And also, we should suggest that there is spaced learning, so that those flashcards are used with gaps in between so that the process of forgetting can be interrupted.
Hello to Year 10 students and your parents and carers. I hope you found the information you've just heard useful in preparing you for the 2 years ahead. I just want to take this opportunity to wish you all the best as you enter into the final phase of the 11 to 16 portion of your journey through Wheatley Park. We very much hope that many of you will stay on with us in the sixth form until you're 18, of course. Over the last 3 years, it's been immensely satisfying to see you grow and develop into such wonderful young people who really do exemplify our school values of everyone learning and everyone caring. And on that basis, you all deserve to be really successful over the next 2 years. I know that all the adults in the school, your teachers, all our support staff will be backing you all the way. But ultimately, of course, it is down to you to put in the hard work that's going to lead to that success. So good luck as you embark on that journey in Year 10. I look forward to catching up with as many as possible of you over the next few weeks and over the next few terms. And thank you once again, everyone, for participating in this evening's event. Thank you.